How's it going? So, Viva Piñata. This is a game I've been playing since I was a kid. I've gone back to play it as a teenager. I've gone back every once in the blue moon to play it as an adult. This game came out in 2006? So what about it keeps having me go back to it? There has to be something there that makes me want to keep going back, so let's talk about that. Alright, so the game starts you off on a small path, as you see animals that are actually piñatas. As you walk down the path, you see a girl crying in this dump, and as soon as you talk to her, she tells you that her name is Leafos, and that you are the new owner of this garden. It's a shitty ass garden, but now that it's yours, you will now shape the garden as you see fit. Leafos gives you the journal and a shovel. As you clear the junk and soften the hard soil, you attract your first piñata, a worm. After the worms visit the garden, the game has you see their requirements. She gives you a grass packet, and once you plant some grass, they decide to reside in your garden. The game instructs you to romance them by building a house and meeting their romance requirements. Once they do their romance dance, and the egg is delivered, and it hatches, Leafos eventually will give you a seed and watering can once she trusts you, and from that point on, you finish a tutorial, and essentially, are free to do as you wish. This is how the game starts you off, and while it seems simple, the tutorial is setting you up for the core foundation of the game. So now that you planted your first seed and romanced the worms, you can attract and tame any piñata you're capable of attracting. Each piñata has different requirements for them to appear, and when they appear, you will have a cutscene that introduces them. It's a cute intro, usually showing off the piñata. If you want more info on them, you can look at it in the journal and figure out what will get them to visit. Since every piñata is different, you will have to cater to the piñata that you want residing in your garden. So while the worms, tafflies, and sparrowmints require basically no effort, later you are gonna get piñatas that are a lot harder to get them to stay. However, that's kind of the point. The more piñatas you tame and romance, the bigger and or harder the new ones become to tame. But the more piñatas you tame, the more experience you get in taming them. Speaking of experience, you are gonna level up when you grow flowers, trees, or tame and romance piñatas. Speaking of romancing the piñatas, you have to reach their romance requirements. Once two piñatas have that, select them with the cursor and direct it to another one ready to dance. Then you play a romance minigame. They start off not too bad. You avoid the red bombs. Then you get bombs that move, bombs that are sleeping, and some that disappear. But once you complete the minigame, which all have different level layouts for each of the species, they will return home and do a romance dance. What the fuck did I just watch? Romancing Piñata awards you with an award, and doing it enough times as the game says, or the actual translation for you guys to keep it simple, which is to have 7 of the species in the garden. It rewards you with the Master Romancer award. These awards you get are what give you the experience petals. When you get enough experience petals to go around the clock, you will level up. After some level ups, new piñatas appear. You might get new upgrades, more garden space, or just new items in the shops to buy, so the leveling up can be pretty nice. You are going to log more as you play the game, and the more you play, the more you will be able to understand that this simple little game can be very challenging, but not in a hard way necessarily, more in a you have to think kind of way. Do I want to romance the piñatas, or do I just want to keep one? Do I want to master romance them and find all the color variants, or do I want to avoid this piñata that doesn't really appeal to me, or go for that one, which is harder, but I like more. In essence, this is a calm, simple game that while it may get a little confusing sometimes with certain things, it is a very fun game. As you keep playing, you interact with your piñatas and see that these things are just adorable. Look at them, they are cute. This is a cute game. So in order to tame piñatas, what does that entail? Well, it depends. Some piñatas require that they eat certain flowers, fruits, or vegetables. Some require that you have certain items, whether it be a tree, a flower, a building, or even just certain pinometers of a certain surface. This is what the piñatas will require you to do. It is what makes the task of residing the piñatas a challenge, because while you still have the journal, it will only tell you one requirement at a time. To unlock more, you have to already complete that requirement. So if a piñata has 2 requirements or more, but you only see one, you might not know what you need, which means you might not be ready to fully have them stay in the garden. Again, you gotta plan. There are websites that mitigate that at this point, but if you want more of a challenge, then you're gonna need to prepare. So, how do I get flowers ready if they require flowers? Well, you could buy them from the general store, or you could talk to Cedos, the younger brother to Leafos. When you talk to him, especially after reaching a new level, he will give you some seeds to plant for free. If he's not around, you could just buy them at the village general store. When planting the seeds, you can get either flowers, bushes, and trees. When you start, you only have this shitty watering can, but can buy upgrades and get the One Pour Wonder, which means you only have to water it once. But if you don't have it now, you have to keep an eye on them. You don't want them to dry up, and also don't want to overwater them, so you're gonna have to focus on your new plant. But if you hyper focus on it, you might leave your babies unattended. So do you want to focus on the piñatas and possibly have your flowers die? Or do you want to focus on the flower and leave those piñatas unattended? Not just that, but fertilizer also exists in the game. With the right fertilizer, your new plant can grow more flower heads, your vegetables can get bigger, or your tree produces way more fruit than normal, helping you for when a piñata requires an excessive amount of fruit. So that's growing and watering, but what about the surface I mentioned earlier? Some piñatas love certain surfaces, water, grass, or soil. In this game, it's mainly just water and the different grasses. Water is mainly for water piñatas like licatoes or cocoadiles, but the grass is the one that differs slightly. Later on, you can buy the long grass packet, which lets you plant long grass needed for certain piñatas, and the regular grass, which is just regular grass. These will not be that hard to reach the requirements. It's the water ones that will be harder, since you have to dig holes one by one. You also have to pick where and how exactly you want to terraform your new pond. It may require you to get rid of some things to still make it look nice. I shall now dub this Saint Isle. You also have to be careful about space too. Since you can have any piñata you are able to tame, that means you might get a little too piñata happy and have too many or even too many objects just in the garden. See, that's kind of a problem. Most likely, due to memory requirements, your garden can only have a certain amount of space, so you're gonna have to plan your ideal garden layout. I want to get the Horstachio Master Romancer reward, but the Worm House is in the way. Do I sell it or wait it out and possibly lose that romance opportunity? Do I want to keep all these candaries to attract a Buzzinch while also keeping my red hots? Or should I sell some of them to allow for more space? Selling piñatas is also the best way to get profit, so yeah. This is probably my least favorite thing because I love all these guys. I love these piñatas. I want to keep them all and make them happy, but I can't realistically keep them all and have them all be happy. But there's not enough room and some of the bigger piñatas might trample on the smaller ones. And then they will get sad. That's another thing. Piñatas have a happiness meter. The happier your piñata is, the more it will sell for, you know, profit, but also just be all happy and adorable. But if a piñata gets too sad, eventually it will decide to leave the garden forever. You can still catch one from the hunter or tame a new one, but that specific one is gone, so if you gotta attach them, make sure you keep them happy. This isn't the only thing that can cause you problems toward your piñata's happiness and garden lifestyle. You also have sour piñatas. Sour piñatas are that little extra challenge for you to deal with. Sour piñatas are these red and black piñatas that are typically based on animals that cause problems in gardening. You have the Shelly Beans that eat any seeds you have lying around. You have the Sour Crollas that eat your candy, Sour Malawolves that scare piñatas away, the Sour Profitimal that digs nasty holes, leaving dirt mounds in your garden, and the Sour Sherbet that makes your piñatas fall ill. These animals are all animals that in gardening do cause damage. These guys make a lot of sense. Maybe not the Sherbet so much, but hey, bats eat fruit, so they may steal the crops. Don't forget the Sour Bomboons that spread rumors to get piñatas to fight, and the Sour Crocodile that scares your helpers away. What, you never dealt with crocodiles before? All the Florida people out there, are crocodiles that common in gardening? You know, I've never been watering plants and then suddenly had to RKO a crocodile. If you guys can let me know, that'd be great. So, sour piñatas can cause havoc on your garden, but just like regular piñatas, they can be tamed. If you meet all of the requirements that sour piñata has, they will eventually form a cocoon and revert to their original state, while also awarding you a Tower of Sour upgrade, making it so when turned on, the sour piñatas will not appear anymore. Not just that, you don't have to tame them. If you just want to buy the upgrade to not deal with the sours, you can buy them at the store. The developers gave you two methods of dealing with them, but once tamed, the normal versions are now free to roam, and are able to visit and be tamed that that way. It's kinda weird that there are normal versions of the sour piñatas that just appear though. Well, that's where the lore comes in. This game does have a lot of thought put into it. The lore in the game is really neat. When leveling up, you can unlock new chapters in the journal that gives you the backstory on Jardinero and his family. It also kind of explains where the sour candy came from, which the TV show said was made by Pester, and I did watch a TV show as a kid. He is the main antagonist, but the book also talks about Jardinero, the guy who gives you the title awards, garden space, and shovel upgrades. The story is pretty cool and has heartbreaking moments throughout. The game has a bunch of charm behind it. The music adds on to that relaxing moments. These orchestral pieces that play throughout the garden are really relaxing. And the romance music differs in all sorts of genres, and it goes all over the place, but they're all really nice compositions. It adds to the charm. Even just looking at the details around the garden adds so much to it. The abandoned helper house, mine, the Piñata Central, ruins, barn. Like, there's a lot of charm and hidden lore here. While this game does have a lot of lore behind it, you don't really need to pay attention to it. You can just straight up ignore it. When I was younger, I never paid attention to the lore. I just wanted to tend to my piñatas. That's what I did. While the game does have so many small details and lore that you will think about, if you don't want to, you don't have to. But the developers put thought into it and it adds so much charm to this game. However, I feel like there are some oversights the developers could have worked on a little more. For starters, there are typos everywhere. This is present throughout the text that has voiceover lines. That wouldn't be too bad. But when you have typos on the requirements, that's a problem. Some piñatas say they require 3 of said requirements, when in reality, it may only require 2, but will be labeled as 3. These are the inconsistencies the game has. It may not be too bad though, because if the game says it needs 3, but requires 1, you will have extra. It's a major problem though, if it says requires 5, but in reality requires 6. So just have some extra just in case, but that's not the only thing I feel the game has a fault. One of the major problems I feel this game has are the evolutions or even the variants. The game doesn't really have any major hints to the various evolutions of the game. The only 2 I remember was the Sparrowman eating something yellow turning into a canary, and the Flutterscotch is becoming a different color. Other than that, you are left alone to figure them out. I will give Viva Piñata credit. They encourage you to experiment to discover new things, and do hint about variants. I think they do anyways. Look, I've been playing this game for years, so now all the info is just jumbled from when exactly I learned it. I know they do for sure with the Flutterscotches. But Leafos also gives you advice on certain evolutions that are just straight up wrong. So your first time playing, when you see it not working, you instead just don't trust her and ignore her instead because she just lied to you to your face. Not just that, but sometimes the evolutions are kinda like fucked. Now it's time for St. John's video game tips. Alright, so you guys want a red hot? Well, they derive from tafflies, so just light them on fire and put them out with your watering can. Fuck. I mean, I get it. The firefly set a fly on fire. Okay. Alright, that makes sense. What about a Lackatoad? Well, just feed a nightshade berry to a Lickatoad and hit it with your shovel and it will evolve to a Lackatoad. Hey yo, what the fuck? That's fucked up. But alright, here's another one. Get 2 Serpents to romance and when the egg arrives it will be moving. Well, when an egg is about to hatch, it bounces 3 times and on the 3rd bounce it will hatch. So for the Twinner Snapper, you gotta take out your shovel and on the 3rd bounce you hit. That's fucked up. Alright, so this evolution is very concerning. Same with the Twinner Snapper to get the 4 heads. It's the same thing to basically get them. This one is horrifying, but what are the implications? In order for me to get a 2-headed person, I have to go to a hospital and just... This is fucked up. Alright, that horror aside, you might also want to feed your piñatas different items. They may change colors and award you with a variant discovery. Viva Piñata lets you direct your resided piñatas to be able to get them to eat something. A lot of the times, if the piñata doesn't need the item for a requirement or have a second use for them, they will just look sad and not do anything. But if they can evolve, are required for romancing, or is part of the variant, the piñata will eat it. If it is their variant, they will change color. Every piñata except the Flutterscotches have 3 variants, so experiment, see what you can discover. While the problem I have with the game is that it doesn't really help explain the evolutions or variants, and that Leafos gives you wrong information sometimes, the AIs also can be picky. When it comes to wild ones anyways. Typically when the piñatas get harder to tame, the AI sometimes takes multiple trips to reside. You can use a menu trick to get them to eat what they need to right then and there, but if you don't, sometimes the AI will just come in, do whatever, and walk right back out. So sometimes the challenge isn't having everything, it will be if the AI completes the requirements in the time it has, but you don't have to deal with the harder requirements. While the game has credits, you unlock them at level 31 or level 32, which is very easy to do. If you reside all the sour piñatas, you can do that before level 40. If you decide to get the only piñata Jardinero couldn't get and rub it in his face since he was so egotistical about being a good gardener, yeah, that's our Jardinero, I got the Dragonache and you didn't. I'm a better gardener, you bitch. Alright, pettiness aside, you can get the Dragonache and call it a day. Since there is no end, that means you can call it a day at any moment, but also pick up the game right where you left off and keep going. This game is cozy, it's fun, and while it seems simple, it is complicated to the point where you will have a challenge, but can also just have fun with it. Want to just have another piñata you already tamed? Alright, go to the hunter and have her catch one for you. Want to decorate? Go to the general store and buy some paths, fences, or overall decorations. Want to give piñatas the drip? Go to the accessory store and get them the drip. There is so much stuff in here. Want some help with watering or selling stuff? Hire some helpers. Want your piñatas to scare away dudes? Well, some piñatas have secondary abilities that can help you do things. All sour piñatas once tamed all have useful abilities, just so you know. Not just that, but Rare, the developers of the game, hid Easter eggs to their other franchises, so yeah, there is a lot of charm in this game. And while simple, it is a lot of fun. Just look at my playtimes. That right there is not an accurate representation. You wanna know why? I lost my original save data. But just look at these two. That's a lot of hours. I love this game. While a little simple, I think this is a cozy game anyone can pick up and play, which makes it easy to recommend. And while it is simple, like I said, it's simple but complicated, but in a good way. If you want to just hang out and decorate your garden, spend time with your new piñata friends, then get the game. It will be so worth it. That's Viva Piñata. I love this game. I love it. It is so much fun. It is great. It is something I've been playing since I was a child, and I still love playing it now. The music, the atmosphere, just everything, absolutely everything is amazing. And yeah, it's simple, but it's complicated enough to give you that challenge to keep going. But it's time. There's no more dancing around it. It is time. I did mess up my bat a little bit. Maybe I have to go talk to the weapons expert, but we'll see what happens. Well, hope you guys have a good one and take care.